In the comment section, I want y'all to tell me what y'all think it means to be clutch when it comes to sports. When I think of the word clutch, I'm thinking about how did you lead your what did you do to lead your team to where they're at? How did you then were you able to get your team in a position to win? Even if you don't hit the game winning shot, get the game time hit the game time shot, that doesn't mean that you're not clutch. And this all stems from the Tyrese Halliburton stat from before the last Cavs game when it said he was 10 of 11 on this season on shots to either take the lead or to tie the game. Which I'm not taking that away from Tyrese Halliburton. He has been really good, and Tyrese Halliburton he is an example of what I like to consider clutch in his performance in Game 5. He didn't have to hit a game-winning shot. He had 2 points in the first quarter. What did he do after that? He dropped 29 in the following three quarters. He finished with 31 points in a Game 5 to finish the series to close it out against the best team in the East to go to the conference finals in back-to-back years. Tyrese Halliburton hitting big shots is not why I would call him a clutch player. I would call him a clutch player because he dropped 31 points in a much-needed win and a 19-point comeback to beat the number one seeded 64-win Cavaliers. That's what I consider clutch. I don't look at clutches. Oh, he just made shots in the game. All he was a shot maker. All that person was, they made shots to end the game. And I like to take the 2016 finals for example. The Cavaliers are down 3-1. They're down 3-1 and they're on the road. Golden State has a chance to close the series out. What do LeBron and Kyrie do? They both dropped 41 apiece. The first time that's happened in NBA Finals history. Correct me if I'm wrong. They both shot over 20 shots that game. They both made over 4 threes. They both shot over 50% from three that game. And they dropped 41 points apiece, combined for 82 to win 112-97 against the Warriors. They were down 3-1 in this series, and they had gotten blown out in really 3 of these games had been blowouts. They won one of those blowout games. This was another blowout in the series, and they were able to win. Like people talk about how good 2016 finals was. No, it wasn't that good. It's memorable because the Cavs came back from down 3-1, but a lot of these games weren't that great. So then Game 6, the Game 6, the Cavaliers, they win once again. They win by 14. You have, what did Steph shoot? Steph shot 8 of 20, Clay shot 9 of 21. LeBron, he finished with 41 once again. Back-to-back playoff games where LeBron dropped 41 points. That's 82 points in 2 games. And this is definitely LeBron's best finals of his career. And this most memorable, definitely the best of his career. Then he drops 27 again after that. LeBron was amazing in this series. And then in that game 7, he wasn't as good, shooting 9 of 24, which isn't great. But he shot 8 of 10 from the free throw line. But what did him and Kyrie do in that game? They both had good games. But a lot of people think it defines clutchness when Kyrie Irving, when he makes a three to take the lead, or when LeBron blocks a shot. No, it's the moments that lead up to this. If LeBron doesn't drop 41 in back-to-back games, they aren't in position to be in a Game 7 and win the series. If Kyrie doesn't have 41 in Game 5, they aren't in a position to win the series. Clutchness is what you do to lead your teams to the big moment. How do you get your teams there? A lot of people might disagree with this, but James Harden could have been in the conversations for Clutch Player of the Year because the Clippers were wrote off by everybody, me included. I said this was going to be a 12 or 13 seed this year because they don't have Kawhi. He's the best player on the team. But what did James Harden do? He stepped up, had an all-star season, is going to make an all-NBA team, and led this team all the way to the 5th seed. And when Kawhi came back, they were in a good position, and in the playoffs when he came back. And even if you want to talk about his Game 7, what did he do in the playoffs? He played well. That Game 6, he was great in that Game 6 to tie the series for the Clippers and lead them to a Game 7. So although he did have a bad Game 7 and then wasn't aggressive, only taking 8 shots, he was the one that put them in positions all year to lead them to the dance, to lead them to the playoffs and give them a chance, to just keep them fighting, keep them in it. And when Kawhi came back, they were able to maintain that and finish as the 5th seed this year, taking the Nuggets to 7 games. And I look at Jimmy Butler, for example, in 2023, leading the Heat, averaging 27, 6, and 6, leading the Heat to the finals as the 8th seed. You can say whatever you want to. Maybe it was some injuries along the way. Maybe it was some stuff like that. I don't Was Boston injured? I don't remember. But they were the 8th seed that year. The 8th seed is not supposed to make it out to play in all the way to the finals. Okay, he didn't win it. But at the end of the day, he got all the way to the finals. Uh, he ended up losing to the Nuggets, of course. They weren't favored in that series. But he led the 8th seeded Heat all the way to the finals. Is that not a clutch performance? He might have lost in the finals. It might not have been as good as it was in the previous series that he played. But how did the Heat get there? It was led behind Jimmy Butler. Robert Horry is a guy who we made, and maybe this is a hot take, but I think Robert Horry is one of the most clutch players in NBA history because it wasn't just about him making the big shots. Yes, he was able to take the big shots and make the big shots, but every team he went to, he impacted in a positive light. He was always a good defender. No matter if he was with the Spurs, the Lakers, or the Rockets, he won 7 rings with those teams. Not just because he was some player riding the bench. No, he was a good role player. You could have him start, you could have him come off the bench. He could play good defense. He could hit big shots. He just did a little bit of everything. And that's what you need from certain guys that are able to do that, able to do a little bit of everything. That Andre Iguodala, that's why he was so crucial to the Warriors' success. He was able to do a little bit of everything. So Robert Horry is also another guy considered clutch, not just because he hit big shots, but because he added so much more to the teams that he was with that really doesn't get talked about. Let's move to football. A game when you might have a game-winning drive, but that doesn't make you elite. Justin Fields can have a game-winning drive, but that doesn't make him a clutch player. Justin Fields was talked about his career in Chicago with how little success he had there, and hopefully he does good on the Jets this year. Because I like Justin Fields. I think he's a solid player. I think Jets is a good spot for him. But just because he has a game-winning drive doesn't mean that he's a clutch player. Something that's clutch is Super Bowl 50 Von Miller when he had a 2.5 sacks and 3 quarterback hits and a 24-10 win for the Broncos over the Panthers. It wasn't like no game-winning sack or anything like that, but he was such a dominant force on defense that he won Super Bowl MVP. How many defensive players are winning Super Bowl MVP? Not many, but Von Miller was able to do that with how well he performed and how good he was. And I remember this because that was my first Super Bowl that I watched, Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos, the Panthers. Like Cam Newton had an MVP year that season, but Von Miller was able to get to him. He was able to get through that line and just able to affect the game in so many ways. I would reiterate this again. Clutchness is not just a game-winning play or a game-winning drive. It's the moments that lead up to the end of the game. Tom Brady, 28-3. Don't have to say much. The Falcons lead is 28-3 at halftime. They're up by 25 points. That is that's 4 touchdowns they're leading by at that point. Tom Brady he has a phenomenal second half of that game, and they end up winning that game. They end up beating the Falcons after being down 28-3, the largest comeback we've seen in Super Bowl history. Now, why were they down? Could Brady have done more in the first half? Definitely. But what happened in the second half? He was able to step it up and lead them to a win. He might have had a bad first half, but he picked it up in the second half to lead them to a win. January 12th, 2020, Mahomes, the Chiefs versus the Texans. The Chiefs are down 24-0 in this game. Patrick Mahomes in the second half throws for 5 touchdowns. After going down 24-0, Mahomes throws for 5 touchdowns. He didn't throw a single interception in this game. And people wonder why we compare Mahomes and Brady so much. Obviously, Brady is the GOAT quarterback right now, but Mahomes definitely will have a case in the future. He is definitely working his way up there. And it's because he has moments like this where, okay, we've seen Brady come back from down 25 in the Super Bowl, but we also seen Mahomes come back from down 20 in a playoff game, divisional, at home. They had a first round bye, so they had a week of rest, so they're probably rusty going into this game. But in the second half, they knew that they needed this win. He stepped it up. He threw for 5 touchdowns. How many players are doing that? You know Brady can do it because you've seen him do it. And now you know that Mahomes can do it because you've seen him do it. And you've seen him come back from down 10 points before, which I don't think is that big of a deal. But you've seen him lead game-winning drives, have great seasons. The Chiefs, who just had one of their people consider this one of Mahomes' worst seasons, still got to the Super Bowl. Did they lose and get embarrassed? Yes, but he still led them there. Let's talk about hockey real quick. Adam Hrinke, he the 2 goals and a 3-0 win versus the Vegas Golden Knights the other night to give them a 3-1 lead. And I think they're on right now, which I gotta catch up with that game. But why is that important? He scored 2 goals out of the 3. If he doesn't score those 2 goals, it may be a 1-0 game. They might not have the momentum they need. And then him getting those 2 goals led them to a win for them to take a 3-1 lead. And the Oilers are the 6th seed, so they have a 3-1 lead going back to Vegas for a chance to close out the series because Adam Henrique scored 2 goals out of their 3 in a 3-0 win. Mikko, man, it's late at night. Mikko Rantanen had a 3-goal, 1-assist game in a 4-2 win versus Stars, Game 7, Round 1 last year. No, that was this year. The Stars over the Avalanche. This year, it was a different game from last year. But he had, out of their 4 points, he had 3 of those goals and the 1 assist. It wasn't just about, oh, did he make the last goal? No, because they won by 2. They won 4-2. But he put the Stars in a position to win this Game 7. And a game that they desperately wanted to win. Like Game 7, both teams are desperate to win. And he put them in a better position than anybody on the Avalanche put their team in position to win by scoring 3 goals and assisting on 1 of them to get the win. Sergio Street from the Florida Panthers had 32 save attempts and 32 saves in a 3-0 win for the Panthers against the Capitals in what was Game 1 of the... He had that against the Oilers in Game 1 of the finals last year, of the Stanley Cup finals. He didn't allow a single goal. They won that game 3-0, but that's because he didn't give up a single goal. In 32 save attempts, he didn't give up 1. Even the game he played today, as I'm recording this late at night, he only gave up 1 goal and they won 3-2. No, they won 6-1, and they're on the verge of going back to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I'm talking about back to last year. He had a game where he didn't give up a single goal, and that's to set the tone. That's to start Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So he sets the tone in that series by having that type of performance. And let's talk about baseball. Javier Baez in the recent game where the Tigers beat the White Sox 10-9, 6 RBIs. He had 2 3-run homers, and none of that came in the 9th inning for them to get the win. Well, no, one did. He did have a game, 1 3-run homer in the 11th inning. But him having 6 RBIs is what led him to the victory. He had multiple hits early in the game. It wasn't just, oh, he did this at the end of the game. Because if he did, let's take away the 3-run homer he had before that, this one never happens. If he doesn't have the first 3-run homer, you never get to an 11th inning in this game. Jacob Wilson the other day for the Oakland A's had 4 RBIs and 2 home runs in an 11-1 win against the Dodgers. Going into the game, the Oakland A's are 21-20. They're trying to improve. They don't want to finish the season 81-81 because that's not going to be a playoff team. If you finish at 500 in the MLB, you're not making the playoffs. You need at least 85, 86 wins to get into the playoffs. Unless something weird just happens. They're in a game where they need a much-needed win. 2 home runs or 4 RBIs, they dominate the Dodgers 11-1. Even though it was a blowout, that's still a clutch performance because you need that win. That is one of your most important games. That gives you momentum. That gives you confidence that you can beat anybody. And you can beat a team that is still a super team that can be a potential dynasty if they win. Because the Dodgers are still going to be great. They're still 27-15. They're still going to be a top playoff contender. But if you can do that to a team like that, then your confidence is through the roof. So those are examples of clutch performances in sports, in my opinion. I can even take it to wrestling for a second. Like you might not want to consider wrestling the real sport or whatever, it's sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. But just to point out two specific moments. One, that backlash that just took place this year, and I know that caused a lot of controversy between how people felt about it. But John Cena and Randy Orton redoing that table spot, Randy Orton, and they noticed that the first spot didn't work on the announce table because they're too reinforced for no reason. So Randy, he communicated with Cena, like, can we do this again? Can I put it through a table? And they communicated with the ref so it don't end in disqualification. And they do that spot. And it's a much safer. They're two great competitors. They have great chemistry with each other. So they're able to do that. So that's how you get a good match. That's how you get a good spot in the match. And then you have Chris Jericho on AEW, December 14th, 2023. Action Andretti. A, a guy that was supposed to be a jobber. He comes onto the AEW scene. He's supposed to lose. He's supposed to lose the match in like a minute or two. But the fans are cheering for him, and Chris Jericho notices, oh, this guy's over. So I'm going to put him over, and I'm going to lose this match. I'm going to give him 10 minutes. Let him shine and lose that match and give him an AEW contract. It might not be considered a, like, look at what they did for Action Andretti's career. He's been doing some prominent stuff on AEW in the tag team division ever since then because of what Jericho did for him. Even though those are moments you might not look at as well as wrestling, so it's hard to consider something clutch in wrestling, those are still great moments and pivotal moments to where, oh, how did they get here? How has Action Andretti still got a job because of what Chris Jericho did for him, and now he's proven why he should be there? Oh, how did Cena and Randy Orton do the table spot without getting DQ'd? Well, the first one didn't go well, so they had to communicate with each other and to the rep to make the spot happen, and they were able to do that. So with that being said, clutchness in sports is not determined by one shot. It's determined by what you do leading up to that final moment. So like I said, James Harden, he might have had a bad game 7, but that doesn't mean that he's not clutch. Like, he's had multiple bad game 7s in his careers, but has he gotten his team there before? Donovan Mitchell, even though he missed those he missed 6 in total, which is bad, but did he not be aggressive and get to the line 21 times? So we gotta start thinking about, and let me know what y'all think. Make sure y'all leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. What do y'all think determines if a player is clutch or not in sports? I think it comes down to, did they get their team, what did they do to get their team there? That's what I look at it as. That's why I look at clutchness. I don't think clutchness can be determined by one singular shot in a game.